Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. My guest today is Brooke Chapman. Brooke is the executive director of 3x3 and 9 Boxes. She has a proven track record of delivering strong commercial results for large organizations in the professional services and not-for-profit sectors. She is skilled in marketing strategies and business growth, customer experience, brand development, team development, and optimization. Brooke's expertise lies in working with brands and business owners, transforming underperforming marketing functions by transitioning organizations out of tactical lead generation and into, just executing on strategy, which is really what a lot of businesses today really need to get a clue on. So I'm really excited to have this conversation today. Brooke, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Great to be on your show.
Thank you. So this is going to be a fun discussion because I love talking marketing strategy, right? I think it's one of the things where people think that, yeah, I got this. And then they're like, nah, you don't. Yeah, you don't have it. You really need to bring in an expert or at least have someone, give you a little bit of clarity. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what makes you so amazing.
Right. Okay. Where do I start? Well, look, our business, we're based in Australia, first of all, but we are a global business. We've got 3 directors and we are all former CMOs for large multinationals. And we got to know each other over a period of time. And what we noticed from chatting to one another was that when it comes to large enterprises, they've got someone like me in their business looking after marketing strategy for the business, making sure it's aligned to business goals, making sure you're doing your customer insights and your research, tying everything together and making sure that all of your campaigns and all of your tactical initiatives are really coming out of a solid, strategy that's based on good foundations. But when we get into the SMB space, they really don't have that. They don't have access to good strategy. And so what we saw is that a lot of SMBs, and when I talk about small to medium businesses, their business is turning over anywhere from, less than $1 million to sometimes up to $100 million. They still haven't got marketing strategy really humming in their business. So what they do is they engage with either their internal team or they engage with a range of agencies, but it's all at a tactical level and there's no strategic oversight and nothing that's really aligning what you're doing in marketing with the broader business. So we created a framework for SMBs to engage with. There's 9 boxes within that framework. And really, you need to understand each of those 9 boxes. You need to be competent across all of those 9 boxes to really be nailing strategy for your business. And really, it's just a way and a methodology for small to medium businesses to become more strategic with their marketing, to make the most of their investment, and to really minimize waste, because we see a lot of small to medium businesses wasting money in marketing, and that really upsets us.
So what would you say in a broad stroke are the differences between a strategy that a larger company would take versus a strategy that a smaller medium-sized business would take? Right? I mean, now, let me just put a big asterisk up here. That should probably be a basic elementary question, right? But it could be one of those things where it's like, well, no, Jeff, there actually are some pretty big differences that you need to think about, because a lot of us do come from these larger backgrounds. We all worked in corporate, and then when we go out and do our own thing, we're like, oh yeah, we're just going to borrow what we did with that 20,000 person company we used to work for. Guess what? It doesn't hold as much water, because you don't have the budget, right? Of where you're coming from. And B, it may not even fit within your avatar. So like, how do you help people sort of grasp, that whole concept and then, sort of distill it down into something that is not only easier to implement, but easier to understand as well?
Great question. And I think that it's a really common problem and a lot of it does come down to budget. To the perceived budget that you have available to you and what you can do with that. So when we see larger enterprises, they've got a lot going on. They are looking at the full depth and breadth of the marketing ecosystem and what they can be doing across all of it. And they usually do have budget to be funding across, comms and PR and brand and, digital and, a range of different channels and a range of different methodologies. What we see with SMBs, though, is that they've got a smaller budget and they think, I can only do A, B, and C. And that might be true from an investment perspective, but when it comes to strategy, they need to be looking at all 9 areas of strategy rather than having that tactical tunnel vision. Because when you get that, you find out that you are jumping to tactics. Nothing's based on strategy. You haven't reviewed your market position. You haven't done customer insights. Some of those foundational pieces are missing that actually guide your tactics and make them successful. So, while you do have a more limited budget, you need to be able to still engage with the full range of strategic problem solving and planning to be effective.
I'm curious, how much pushback do you get from that particular sentence? Right? That you need to be focused on your strategy. And then you come in and you tell this, this $100,000 a year company that they need to, they need to have a strategy and talk to their customers and da, 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 da. How many times do you get the look like, what the hell are you talking about?
Look, it depends where a business is at. Some businesses come to us and they're like, right, we really want to invest in marketing. And we're like, great, well, you've got to do these strategic things before we even get anywhere near thinking about a campaign. And they're like, what? I just really want to get to the campaign. I want to start seeing results. I want to start seeing leads come in. And we have to explain to them that there's a process. Other businesses come to us and they're absolutely ready for strategy because we call it the boulevard of broken dreams that they've walked along. They've gone to, a few different agencies or they've done a DIY solution. And I'm not saying the agencies they've gone to have been bad. They've just been strategic in their area, whether it's digital or whether it's brand, but there's been nothing overarching guiding the work. So they've gone to these agencies or they've done something themselves. It hasn't worked, or it's worked somewhat for some period of time. And they're like, right, I'm missing something here. What's the key to unlocking marketing success? What do I do? And the reality is, Jeff, is that there's no silver bullet. They have to do the work. They have to lay the foundations, but they're ready to go on that journey because they've seen that they can't keep going on the hamster wheel of putting good money after bad and not getting any result for it. So, we kind of see businesses in both camps. Usually in most cases, the former, the one I described that just wants to get to the campaign. Sometimes we can get them on board, educate them and they want to do it our way. Other times they have to go and make the mistakes and come back to us later. So it just depends where they're at.
So that's really interesting that you actually have a process then of saying no to clients that would come to you and just saying, hey, you're not ready for us. Right. And that can be a daunting task because you think like, hey, you have your own revenue goals to make. Right. So theoretically you could, maybe think about taking a shortcut here or there, but that's not a great idea. Right. That's not why people are paying you the big bucks in order to do this. Right. Let's talk a little bit about what this is. So you talked about the 9 boxes. You talked about these different modalities that you really need to get clarity on before you even get close to a campaign. What does that framework look like?
Yeah, sure. Good question. So we've broken marketing down into 3 sort of segments, so to speak. So there's finding customers, there's converting customers, and there's delivering to customers. So within the finding customer boxes, the first box is position. It is the most important box of all 9. If you can't get position right and really fine tune, where you sit in the market and the type of business you want to be and how you present that, it's really hard to get to the rest of the boxes right. So we spend a lot of time working on position, and we find that businesses should be reviewing their position every 2 years at a minimum, and they're not doing that. So we spend a lot of time working with businesses on that and where they can develop a market position that gives them significant differentiation within their market and allows them to really resonate with the target customer groups that they would like to be engaging with. Also within the find boxes, we have capability. So, the people, the processes, the platforms, the tools, the budget, the strategy, all of the things that really power your marketing function. And we can assist with getting those up and running for you. And then lastly, in the find boxes, we've got channel. So again, that's where those businesses that want to jump to campaigns, they're all preoccupied with channel. I want to be on TikTok. I want to be on LinkedIn. I want to be here, and here. And, we need to do an analysis as to whether, strategic partnerships are going to be more effective than traditional channels, above the line channels, or whether it's a combination of both. We need to develop a bespoke channel strategy for each business. Across the the next section, the convert, we've got buyer's journey, so knowing all of the stages of the buyer's journey and how to engage with segments at each stage. Communication, so brand, all of your touch points, and also starting conversations, so how sales and marketing work together on different tasks, how they support each other for a seamless customer journey. And then for deliver, it's about the products and services you have and whether they need to be reviewed and modified. It's all about client management. Who do you want to serve? Who do you not want to serve? And how do you filter the ones out that you don't to attract more of the ones you do? And then client service, continuing to market to your existing customers because it's always easier to hold on to existing customers and increase investment than to attract new people in.
So that's really interesting that you have all of that completely mapped out. How long does it take you to to bring a company from A to Z, or from box 1 to box 9? How does that look?
It's not overnight, right? So, this is something that we're really clear with when we work with businesses, is that it does take time. We run a business through an initial piece of work that we call a strategic marketing assessment. It takes 4 weeks. We do a scan of your business, a 360-degree review of your sales and marketing function, and we come up with your prescription. What boxes do you need to work on in the next 6 months? Typically, we'll ask you to work on 3 that we support you with, and then what comes after that and what comes after that. So, most businesses tend to be engaged with us, for between 12 months and 2 years to really get those strategic foundations working and start to see the commercial returns from their marketing that they're looking for. But, we're really about building long-term growth and not getting those, not focusing on the sugar hits, so to speak.
The sugar hits, those short-term those short-term things where, money just hits the account, and then you think like, yeah, instantly, I got this, right? And it turns out you don't, because you're basically a one-hit wonder,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really translate well, and it's like, and then you wonder why you can't duplicate those results, and it's because, like you said, you got a sugar hit, and you actually, you're not actually delivering on your core set of values if you're just chasing sugar hits, right?
Yeah,
And
we've all seen those businesses that, they have that great product, and for 5 minutes it's the hot thing, and then they do nothing after that. It's, are you understanding your customer and their needs, what their progression is through a product and service cycle? What business do you want to be in 2 years and 3 years, and how are you going to take customers on that journey? So that's what we really focus on, because it's not just about the one hit wonder. You want to be, most businesses we know want to grow significantly, and they want to be around in 5 years and 10 years. So it's about plotting what that looks like and making sure that you're setting yourself up for that.
I want to circle back quickly to one thing that you mentioned, that you're expecting businesses to reevaluate themselves every 2 years. And I'm just curious why you landed on that arbitrary number, right? In terms of, why not 1 year? Why not 3 years, 5-year plan, things like that? How did you guys come up with the 2-year plan, and why is that important,
Mm.
for the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's not really arbitrary. Like, we would sometimes there are things that mean that you need to, market factors, which mean that you need to reevaluate your position earlier. Or there might be something happening inside your business, structurally or organization-wise, that's changing, which means that you need to look at it sooner. But I think, if you look at the 2-year rule, look at what's happened to us as a human race and as a civilization in the last 2 years with the pandemic. If there are any businesses out there that have not uh, refined and reviewed their position over the last 2 years, you should definitely be doing so now, because, buyer behavior, while it is getting back to normal now, it has significantly changed through the pandemic and over the last couple of years and what everyone's been through. So, markets aren't static, they change, they evolve. And, you always want to make sure you're ahead of that curve. You're not chasing your tail and going, oh, wow, a new player's come in, they're really resonating with my customers, and I've lost a bunch of them. So, you need to make sure that you're regularly looking at your competitors, you're regularly scanning the market, and then making sure that you've got a really secure place within that market. And that is, you've always got to be watching that, Jeff.
I love it. Thank you so much for articulating that, because I think that's one of the key details that sort of gets lost. I mean, think about it. If you're an online retailer that sells men's suits, right? And you may think to yourself, I am not, like, my business hasn't changed 10 years ago until now, and it's not going to change from now until 10 years later, right? But the fact of the matter is, it's changed a lot in terms of buying patterns. Like you said, who's walking into the store versus who is ordering it online. It, I find one of the things that is intensely interesting, and maybe I'm just dating myself here. My daughter just bought a dress because we're going to a wedding in a couple of weeks from Australia, right?
Mm.
And I mean, she found this Australian retailer, and I'm like, is this dress going to get here on time? And she's like, oh yeah, I already got the tracking thing that says, yeah, it's going to be here on Tuesday. And I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, great. Right. And these are things that, like my 17-year-old daughter, like it's natural for her. She just buys all her clothes online. She knows all of these outlets and all of these things. She just goes and does it. I can't imagine buying a t-shirt unless I'm there to physically hold it in my hand, rub it together, see what the material feels like, things like that. Right. And I
Sorry.
realize, I realize that we're talking about two completely different demographics here, but at the same time, this is what she grew up with versus I had a bunch of other years that I had, to work on this stuff. And that's just talking about clothing, right? And the type, and I didn't even dive into how she even found this online retailer in the first place, right? Which is also intensely interesting, how she's discovering new stuff versus how you and I would discover it, right?
Totally. And, it is a demographic thing. You've really got to know the customer segments. When you came of age, Jeff, and also similar with me, you
Go
went
ahead.
to the
Thank you.
suit, you went to the suit store, and that was the only option available to you. And the person that owned the suit store kind of, he needed to provide good service, he needed to have good product, but that was the only method that people had. And his competitors were just other suit stores, right? Now the game has changed. I actually was speaking to someone late last year who's a head of marketing for a really interesting business out of New Zealand, and it's a men's clothing subscription business.
Mhm.
So, for men who don't want to shop, they just put in, look, this is kind of the colors I like, this is what I need. And then every month a new shirt comes, or a new pair of pants, or a new suit. And, that's really going to shake up clothing if that's the way that we're going, a Netflix for clothing. These things are always changing and evolving. So the guy who owns the suit store, it doesn't mean to say that he should shut down his business and go online, but what he's delivering in that suit store, who is his sweet spot? Who is his customer? How can he deliver the best possible product and service for them and create some white space around him in that cluttered market? So, not everyone's going to want to subscribe to clothing. Not everyone's going to want to buy online, like you say, from Australia. But so how does he really corner that market, in his local area, and make sure that people, he's always front of mind and people want to come in and work with him. So, it's really important that you understand your place in that broader market. Otherwise, you can find yourself a little bit lost and without, a customer base.
I love it. Thank you so much for articulating that. Brooke, can you please let everyone know where they can find you online and how can they reach out to you directly if they want to learn more?
Yeah, great. If you can go to our website, 3by3.com. So it's THREEBY number 3.com. And for viewers and listeners today, we do have a special offer. If you go to our website, you can register for our benchmark. So we have an online benchmark. Over 6,000 businesses have taken this online survey. It's about 10 minutes, 45 questions, and it will give you an initial score as to how you're going with marketing strategy. So go on and take the benchmark. We'd be happy to let you know. We can give you some commentary around your scores and what they mean and what some next steps look like. But really happy to work with any SMBs owners that are listening, and also agencies. We work with marketing agencies all around the world, helping their clients with strategy, so that then the agencies can get on with their work, whether that's in digital or brand, and in their skill set and in their space. So really happy to help.
Brooke, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate you taking the time to articulate, really what's needed, not fluffing it around, really just like, hey guys, this is what you really need to do in order to really make it happen. And, strategy, it really is one of those unsung heroes, because a lot of people, like you said, just want to jump straight to tactics. And if you don't have a good strategy going, then you're really just going to be flailing in the wind, and nobody wants to be doing that. So, Brooke, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Right. Thanks for a great conversation.